guys, my name is RGB. If you just connected to the server, welcome. If you're already a regular, welcome home. Pokemon is a franchise that mostly everyone has heard of before. It's known for its cutesy, magical-looking creatures that you can collect and trap inside Pokeballs in order to make them fight each other to death. Well, as weird as the franchise's designs are, they have a set of conventions you expect to see in order to recognize it as a Pokemon. And, well, my favorite Pokemon group was created to intentionally break these conventions. If you read the title, you know I'm speaking of the Ultra Beasts. They're a group of alien Pokemons from another dimension who are based on alien tropes and on invasive species. I'm not personally someone who's very knowledgeable on Pokemon in general, but I'm a little bit obsessed with the Ultra Beast concepts and character designs. So today, I'll be making Gijinkas, or, well, humanized versions of these designs. They're all girls, because I want to draw girls. Also, a quick heads up, this video format is heavily based off Jinja Ninja's Evolution series because I found it so fun to watch. So let's start! The first one is obviously Nihilego, or UB01 Symbiont, the jellyfish-based Ultra Beast who lives by feeding on people and has the ability to mind control others with neurotoxins. They're the first one we get to meet, and Nihilego has a very interesting design, as it is clearly based on an animal, but there's an unsettling vibe to it, because its silhouette looks like a little girl with his eyes obscured. My first draft for Nihilego was very straightforward. At the time, I wasn't sure how many fantasy parts I wanted to keep, so I ended up making a poll in my community tab, and you guys ultimately decided to keep a fantastical aspect, opposite to making them 100% humans. I only completely got into terms with that decision in the final designs though, so the drafts are somewhat weak. I gave her darker skin because I really like the contrast against her all-white outfit, and you can see I tried to incorporate aspects of Nihilego's form when it's mind controlling Lusamine. Whoops, spoilers if you haven't played the game or watched the anime. And now it's time to smash my drawing tablet trying to come up with ideas for Buzzwole or UB02 absorption, the bodybuilder mosquito who drinks other Pokemons like Capri-Sun. After Nihilego, I really struggled with these designs. Because my mind was so set on trying to keep them as human as possible, I wasn't sure how to incorporate many aspects of the original Pokemon designs into a human girl. Her outfit is loosely inspired by techwear, mostly on the pants, and for the shirt, I tried to come up with something that resembled Buzzwole's original markings. In the first draft, I got rid of the forelegs and only kept the wings, antennas, and spikes. I personally really enjoy bug face markings that connect the sides of the mouth to the ears, so I added that into the design. The color palette was a personal challenge to me, as I found it really hard to balance the Pokemon's extremely saturated reds with the darker parts without it looking too out of place. I left this draft with a really sour taste in my mouth, as it didn't feel original or groundbreaking enough to be worthy of an Ultra Beast humanoid form. Did you know Buzzwole has her polar opposite as her girlfriend? Pheromosa or UB02 Beauty was easy and difficult altogether. A beautiful and elegant, freshly molted cockroach who makes her enemies enamored with her by using pheromones. Because so much of her original Pokemon's design is already humanoid on itself, I really cracked my screen trying to translate it into something who resembled her, and wasn't extremely, I expected that. I thought about making her hair become part of her body, turn it into actual cockroach rings, or create an outfit who kept the silhouette, and everything was to no avail. You can imagine that this process was filled of me looking at cockroach pictures non-stop. It is a little grotesque if you don't personally enjoy bugs, but I'm not really finicky about looking at bugs or insects in general. I like them, and I love character designs based on bugs. Anyways, it was there when I decided to comply to the idea of freeing myself and diving deeper into humanizing them with my own little twist. I really like Pheromosa because she's so pretty. So my Gijinka version looking so bland really upset me, as I believe she deserves more. So I really needed to get my gears working properly. Now, I'll get all electrified talking about my favorite alien tree, Xurkitree, or UB03 Lightning, our favorite bundle of Christmas lights and energy plugs. I was extremely excited to work on her design because Xurkitree is such an exquisite looking Pokemon. It's off-putting and so jarring in comparison to any other Pokemon and any other Ultra Beast for that matter. In my opinion, it takes the cake as the Ultra Beast who breaks the design conventions the most. I knew I wanted to keep her limbs as cables, as there are striking features in the original Pokemon design. The outfit and hairstyle is loosely inspired by punk outfits and mohawks. The outfit in itself wasn't anything too extraordinary, as it was mostly a placeholder of tangled ideas and blurry concepts inside my mind. Something you notice very quickly is that I directly color picked the Gijinka's color schemes from the original Pokemons. Besides the addition of a skin color for them, their palettes are based off main colors and sometimes the shadow colors too, as someone like Pheromosa didn't have many different hues to work with. And after such a peaceful sketching process, I was ready to blast off into space because, oh boy, Celesteela's or UV0 for Blaster drove me crazy and directly into outer space. This Bamboo Princess rocket ship Pokemon was so frustrating to humanize. Trying to implement my ideas into this stick figure felt like I was making each piece of her design with different art mediums and sticking it all together with silver tape. Differently from everyone else, her Pokemon design was very cluttered and had too many motifs going on for me to try to find a good balance. If I made things too technological, she would lose her bamboo aspect, and if I toned down the rocket ship aspects, she would essentially just be a bamboo princess, and there was no ideal way to turn her into a bamboo rocket ship only. How would I fit a human part in there? I was really vibing with the pigtail arms concept, but I just couldn't find a proper way to fit it together with it being made of bamboo. It was also at that point when I noticed that Celesteela had a really huge neck. I don't know, I didn't realize that until I analyzed her properly. Anyways, I finished this sketch really frustrated and frantically searching for endless sites for inspirations because I couldn't simply be defeated like this. So the next one might seem a little bit funny because a faceless, extra small plant origami samurai would seem as easy as turning a Bamboo Princess rocket ship into a girl. But Kartana, also known as UB04 Blade, was the fastest rough draft of all characters in this list. With its sharp features and ability to be able to cut any single thing in its path, I had a clear image of Kartana being a small, stern, short-haired samurai girl. For the first draft, I didn't keep much of the paper aspect in her design, which is something I changed later on to keep the character's overall essence. Kartana is related to Celesteela, as they're both inspired by the same tail, the bamboo cutter. I really enjoy the mix of delicate and lethal in character designs, so I tried to make Kartana look cute, yet still imposing by her sharp edges and warm colors. Out of this entire cast of Ultra Beast girls, Kartana was the easiest to design, both her rough draft and final drawing. I guess my mind had a very clear image of what she would look like, so I had one character less to worry about because I had already suffered enough with the previous girls. And now you might be a little bit surprised because just like Kartana, my design process for Guzzlord or UB05 Glutton was also very smooth, as I had two main concepts to turn it into a girl: goth chubby and powerful mother. For my mind mood board, I totally had Lady Dimitrescu in mind when making Guzzlord, because as short as she may seem because of her wide body, I pictured her as one of the tallest of the group. Guzzlord is a really wild and destructive creature, and that's where I diverged the most from the original source. My girl Guzzlord is very feminine and bossy, while also keeping a wild and destructive nature. I pictured her as acting very refined while turning an entire building to pieces. I had also a lot of Ursula vibes when drawing her, as I picture her like being a true powerful villainess. If you know about Guzzlord's Ultra Ruin, you know she was up to no good. I actually really like this Eldritch Abomination Pokemon, so be kind to her. Let her destroy your entire city. Poipole and Naganadele, which I don't actually know their UB nomination, so I'm just gonna call them that, were also the easiest in comparison to Pheromosa or, I don't know, Stakataka, which you see next. I knew I didn't want to make separate drawings for each, as Naganadele is an evolution of Poipole. I decided to keep them as siblings of a sort, so for Naganadele, I was sure I wanted to keep her stinger and wings, because she would look way too normal if I took them away. From all of the original drafts, the two of them are very likely the most beast looking of the bunch. Designing their hair specifically really gave me a lot of trouble because I wanted a textured hair that would suit the characters. I feel like Naganadele looks very motherly and warm when next to Poipole, and that's the vibe I went for since she's her younger sister's caretaker. I'll admit that I wasn't the most inspired when designing their clothing, so I just went with simple placeholders that maybe kept their Pokemon's body marks, and then I knew it would get better in the final draft. So now I had to turn a bunch of stupid ass bricks into girl by my very flattering opening to Stakatakas or, well, UB Assembly's rough draft section. You can imagine how much I struggled with this. When drawing her, I was extremely puzzled and irritated by the fact that all of the girls had already unnatural and mystic looks to them, while Stakataka just looked like a long-haired girl who likes to dress in shades of grey. I cannot stress how difficult it was to think of anything, because, well, bricks aren't exactly the most inspiring object to draw inspiration from. So, as you may expect, I hold little to no interest in Stakataka, and even if it could potentially become captivating, I didn't have anything in mind, so I don't really have much to speak about this rough draft. Get out of here, Stakataka! But a fireworks alien clown Pokemon is something I can get behind. I'm similar to a kid because when I see pretty colorful things, I want them. Blacephalon or UB Burst is on top of my list for favorite Ultra Beast. Its entire gimmick of clown who's an otherworldly, unsettling creature who feeds off people's vitality is something I can totally get behind. Its Pokemon design is pretty straightforward and I love how it's simple, but it just works. The silhouette paired with its shapes tell you everything you need to know about its attitude, and I love questionable acting creatures. So I was the most excited to work on Blacephalon, but I admit that my first draft was very lacking because of my exhaustion. I sketched all of this in a span of 2 days, so please give me a reward and don't forget to like the video, wink wink. To make up for it, Blacephalon was the first final drawing I started, and I was very happy with its result. I also think Xurkitree and Blacephalon are enemies to lovers. I'll speak more about their relationships I have in mind when we get to the final drawings. So, final thoughts on the rough drafts before we move on to the final designs. This lineup was not something I enjoyed at all. It felt very lacking and unimpressive when I looked at all of them together in my drawings folder, and I really felt like it didn't properly celebrate the Ultra Beast essences. When I took a step back, I noticed that even though you guys allowed me to have more freedom with their designs and keep fantastical elements, I was too caught up on trying to translate them into normal girls, which means they look way too bland. They're special Pokemons, so they gotta look like special girls too. And that's when I started having the real fun and feeling proud of my designs. Also, I'm not resizing them to put them in a lineup because I hate lineups. You can make me do it! And now, the real job starts. For some reason, I was a lot more excited to work on the final designs than I was for the rough sketches. So, for our Gijinkas, all of the girls live together. You can imagine their dimensions as being little pocket dimensions inside their rooms. They have normal slice of life experiences while being weird monster girls, I guess. For Nihilego, she's the one that mostly stayed the same. I ended up giving in and adding the jellyfish hat like you'd expect a Gijinka of her to have, in order to keep her silhouette interesting. She also received long sleeves who cover her hands because I had the idea to imitate jellyfish stingers. My view of Nihilego's Gijinka is that she's a mysterious girl with questionable goals. She gazes into nothingness for hours, yet she's very kind and acts pretty cutesy. She's the type of character who's always had empty, no thoughts, and then she mutters something extremely creepy while being very oblivious to it. I believe she would have a mentor/apprentice relationship with Guzzlord, where she's taken care of by her. Why? I don't know. I just thought it would be cute. If I had to describe Nihilego in 3 words, I'd say dreamy, innocent, and shady. And that's Nihilego. As I said previously, I decided to maximize the character's design fantasy aspects, so I made Buzzwole canon compliant and gave her 4 legs. Initially, I was a bit troubled about how I'd approach it, but I decided to just go with the flow and not stress it too much. The process of all these designs went very smoothly, differently from the rough sketches where I struggled so much. I'm not someone who does concept art before my design, so that may be why I struggle so much with this video conception. Back to Buzzwole. I like the upper part of her body in the original draft, so I didn't change much. She's an awesome polar opposite to Pheromosa, and when paired as girlfriends, I just think they're perfect for balancing each other. She's a very passionate bodybuilder who loves her model girlfriend, takes care of everyone else like a fierce protector, and wants to help Nihilego and Poipole grow into big and beautiful buff women. She usually gets scolded by others when she's putting them through straining exercise routines, but it's all because she loves the younglings and wants them healthy and strong. What do you think about Buzzwole? I really like her design. And now into the strikingly beautiful and otherworldly model. For her specifically, I decided to add in more insect aspects to match Buzzwole. Her Pokemon form has a silhouette that is very similar to a human already, both because of Pokemon's art style and overall lighter, friendlier theme, as it would be way too jarring even for the Ultra Beast if she was too detailed. So I ended up giving her cockroach legs. I tried to implement and keep the details she has in her original form as a Pokemon, while adding in some more flair. Like mentioned, she's a model who holds herself in high regard. She's a germaphobe, so she will often be very touch-averse. She goes into cleaning sprees around the UB mansion, and I personally see her as being asexual too. She doesn't like anyone very much, aside from Buzzwole's, who's basically a bimbo who won her heart and is helping her deal with her own issues. Do you like Pheromosa? She really holds a dear place in my heart. I think she's so pretty. Xurkitree, like I mentioned before, is most likely my favorite of the bunch. She's the anarchist wild card of the group. She pulls pranks on people, is very loud and extra. She probably does parkour on tall buildings, paints graffiti in illegal places, and is a skater. And if you don't know her from her striking personality, you definitely do because of her rivalry with Blacephalon. Which one is the coolest? They're always bantering and arguing when they're not setting things ablaze with their wild lights. This design is the one I had the most fun with, and I personally cannot tell you why. The final version did not change much from the concept design, I think. I mostly put some details and made her appear electricity. I picture her being very chill near Nihilego and Poipole because mostly everyone is. They're the younglings of the group, so nobody would dare to be mean to them, especially when Guzzlord and Naganadele are their respective caretakers. You get crushed to bits and never notice. Bam! And you get flashbanged by the punk Christmas tree. Next one, oh, so from the rough drafts, you know I absolutely hated working on Celesteela. I really had a very difficult time, and that's why I'm so happy to announce that I actually am very proud of her final design. The concept of turning her rockets into arm pigtails remained the same, but I polished the design a little bit. I decided to keep her hair long because I ended up changing the silhouette of her dress quite a lot. I gave it the shape of a little bamboo sprout because it just seemed cute. And about her character itself, as you would imagine, she's very quiet and reserved. Nobody besides Kartana really knows much about Celesteela, and she likes it that way. Her special interest is space. She really likes Kartana because their vibes fit very well together. On the other hand, Celesteela isn't very fond of Nihilego or Poipole because they're too immature at times, and as a very methodical and calculating woman, she can't really stand irrationality. Gardening is one of her shared passions with Kartana. While Kartana trains her cutting skills, Celesteela studies the bamboo trees to upgrade her own sets. And that's our bamboo rocket ship princess. The princess' best friend is the most rational and prepared Ultra Beast. Kartana follows a very strict moral code. She's calm and one with her sword, or, well, right arm? At the end, I decided to incorporate Kartana's origami limbs in her final design, keeping one of her arms as an actual arm and the other one to symbolize her blade. Kartana is exactly what you would expect of a samurai. Underneath her stern and rather angry facial expression lies a serene and peaceful person who is in love with nature and Celesteela. Wait, I wasn't supposed to tell you that last part, but now that I did, I see them as having the dynamic of princess and royal guard? for a lack of better terms, because I'm not a native English speaker. But Celesteela is very oblivious to Kartana's feelings, and they're stuck in this situationship where Kartana will do anything for the princess, and the princess just wants to build rocket ships and fly into space. It's rather sad because I don't think the princess feels the same. She's too busy with her own hyperfixations. And that is our melancholic samurai who likes to cut everything in her path. And we arrive at the owner of the Ultra Beast Mansion, the one who created the bedroom pocket dimensions, and a force to be reckoned with, Guzzlord. She did not change at all. As simple as her original draft was, I was pretty satisfied with it. Sure, a few more details could be added to her if I wanted to, but I already have been working on this video for way longer than my body supports, so hey, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, or Guzzlord will devour your entire home. Anyways, I only really added one extra set of arms and a random tattered yellow cloth around her waist, so there could be more aspects visually. After completely destroying her Ultra Space, the Ultra Ruin, Guzzlord was faced with the fact that there was nothing else for her to devastate. Tearing the fabric of reality, she left her Ultra Ruin to destroy what was beyond her reach. She then found Nihilego and immediately decided that she was going to be that lost kid's mother and create a community for her to grow in. It was just one of those existential crisis moments for her. I mean, can we blame her? Guzzlord in general is very respected as she is the one and only who can end everyone in a second, so yeah. She's very passionate about raising Nihilego and even started to warm up to Poipole and Naganadele. Personally, she really dislikes Pheromosa and her attitude as they clash together because both have very eccentric personalities. And that's Guzzlord. Another set that really didn't change all that much. I was kind of out of ideas for their entire costume gimmick, so I ultimately just drew whatever would be cool looking and allow me to keep Naganadele's body visible because I really like the anatomy of the pose I gave her. Poipole is a very minor detail to the point where I don't really feel like she counts as a character, but hey, Naganadele herself wouldn't be there if it wasn't for Poipole. As strong as Guzzlord is, when it was the duo's time to be recruited, Naganadele put up a really tough fight against Guzzlord, who lost her temper and ended up fighting back, completely forgetting her original mission of friendly taking them to a new place to live. Nihilego was there and ended up bonding with Poipole. That was the only reason both Dragon Women didn't tear each other to pieces. They noticed that their daughter figures became friends and instantly formed a rather close relationship to gush about their own kids. Naganadele has the personality of a really caring and loving mother who's very protective and violent towards anyone who threatens her kid. Poipole is a silly baby who wants to make friends and make art crafts. And that's her dragon, Wasp Girl. So you might be wondering, it's Stakataka's turn. Now we get to see bricks transformed into girls, and no, I actually am kind of ashamed to say that I gave up in a fit of rage at Stakataka. I couldn't, for the life of me, get a design that I was actually proud of, and if I kept on trying, this video would never get out in time. And it actually didn't, since I'm posting this one day after the day I promised to post. Sorry about that. I didn't want to deliver something I couldn't get behind, so let's pretend this wall of eyed bricks do not exist because Stakataka is so unimportant and useless. And I'm sorry if you're a Stakataka fan, I'm so sorry. I just can't do it right now. Take these bricks away from me! Oh, hi. Moving on. It was finally time for Blacephalon. I was so excited to work on her because funny clown who has wonderful color palette. I decided to make her hair become little balls that exploded instead of her head itself. Her head is still removable though. Blacephalon has the personality you'd expect from a whimsical clown girl who's just a menace to society and enjoys making firework shows to assert dominance. She's colorful, speaks extremely loud and in very over-the-top fancy dialect, and does the best Michael Jackson impersonations. Nobody really knows where she comes from, but in a very different way from Celesteela. While the princess is mystical and somewhat dreamy, Blacephalon's origins are shady and jarring. Her odd behavior is nothing dangerous, but it does make anyone who's not accustomed to her extremely uncomfortable and weirded out. Just like what happens to Xurkitree. So they fight a lot and also relate to each other a lot, forming a frenemies bond. Woohoo! So that was a wild ride. It was pretty difficult juggling everything to post this in time, as I don't have much time at all, so I had to stay awake through the night and to go to work extremely drained and tired. But it was worth it because look at that cast of characters! Except Stakataka. This will haunt me forever. I really hope you enjoyed the video, because aside from all the obstacles, it was an awesome learning experience. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like in the video and maybe share it with friends who might enjoy. Your support is very important so I can keep improving my content quality and maybe in the future earn some more time to spend on making content. With all of this said, I see you in the next video. Bye!